2024 Republican primary is turning into a real race to the bottom on the existence of trans people. And you can also tell that Trump is really phoning this video in.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional.
Yeah, bro, this is the game-winning strategy. This is it. This is a deep
mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this? I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly. I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the...
Honestly, this is a unique crossroads where it's what I talked about, which is like, will the American population, will the broader like suburban housewives actually fall into the gender panic created by these fucking right-wing sickos, or will they continue to go, this is weird, stop talking about the genitals of children? Because like, it's pretty obvious that during the supposed red wave that never came, they did say, that's weird, stop talking about genitalia of children over and over again. They, like, normies kind of are grossed out by this. Normies are grossed out by this for the most part. It's like, dude, you care about it too much. You're constantly talking about it. This is all you do. This is your entire life. It's weird. It's very weird. It's very weird. Please stop. And we'll see. The far scarier moment is when people actually, when this messaging sticks a little bit more.
Program immediately. Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order...
I don't get it. Like, what do they... I mean, he's like goading everyone else in the primaries to like be as aggressive as he is. Like, what do you want? You want like... I mean, I guess they just don't care if trans people die as a consequence of this. You know what I mean? Like, it seems to me like that's their main point. Right? Is that what it is? But I don't know. I feel like this is too much. Part of the reason why people hated the SJW narrative that was hammered on over and over again was because like they were everywhere. It was like impossible to not hear the liberal cancel culture narrative. It was partially created by the right to make it seem like, you know, the left was like hysterical, the left was crazy. But the media definitely played a big role in like constantly elevating that messaging. And nobody likes magnanimous, or not magnanimous, sorry. Nobody likes sanctimonious people, okay? Not magnanimous, I used the wrong word there. It's just, people get annoyed. People are like, oh, I don't want to hear your like moral righteousness all the time. And I think that's kind of what happened with like the gender panic shit. Because it's like there was this very real air that like everyone cares about trans people. Everyone cares about trans people. Everyone, that's all people care about. Like that was like a very serious thing that people were like legitimately talking about, as though there was like any kind of legislation that was being written to like, you know, make it illegal that you can't like make it so that if you like accidentally misgendered someone, you were going to get shot or something. Like that was what the attitude was in the media overall. But now, after 4 years of Trump and you know 3 years of Joe Brandon, people very clearly understand that that is not what happened, and it's not going to happen. And now it's just they keep hitting the same note over and over again. And I feel like it just shifted. The attitude of discomfort and discontent and nuisance shifted in the direction of the right wingers now. They leaned way, way too far into this shit, nonstop. Yeah, sure, it's not the same in Florida because Florida is fucked. But when you have Utah's own governor, and by no means this man is a left winger or a bleeding heart liberal, saying, I cannot in good conscience sign off on a law that seemingly was written to discriminate against one 12-year-old trans girl. I will never forget that. Like they literally, he's like, I looked it up. There's only one 12-year-old trans girl in this entire state. Now the Utah governor might have signed it now, but it still doesn't change the wait, first of all, I'm sorry that I'm not like literally up to the every fucking second date on anti-trans bills that constantly get through the legislation. He said he was going to veto it, which he did originally. But why are you mad at me? I'm sure he's probably passed on a fuckload of they passed that. Yeah, they voted to pass the veto regardless. And ultimately, it doesn't matter because they'll still fucking end up writing shit into law. But all of this legislation is not changing the reality that no matter how cruel and unusual people want to get towards trans people, okay? No matter how cruel and unusual people want to get towards trans people, ultimately, like, follow Aaron and the More and stuff more closely. Man, shut the fuck up. I'm covering like a 1,000 different avenues, man. Calm down. Like, seriously. Oh man, I fucking missed one. Holy shit. God damn, dude. Jesus Christ, dude. Fucking calm down. Chill out, chat. Yo, chat is just understandably scared. Okay. But what the fuck do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Every other day, there's a new anti-trans bill that gets passed through state legislatures. Happened in Arkansas as well. Not be dismissive, maybe? I'm not dismissive towards the passage of a trans legislation. I'm dismissive of the person whose expectations are that, like, you literally need to know. That's crazy. Anyway, ultimately, the point is they're basically fucking they're writing legislation. The point I was trying to make is that the reality does not change for the state of Utah, where they are, no matter what they do, okay, no matter what they do, they're still writing legislation for an incredibly small group of people and trying to cause them immeasurable harm. And I still don't know if this is a viable election strategy. for the Republican Party. I don't know how they will try and follow through on some of this stuff. I don't even know how they can. I don't think that the Supreme Court will be. I don't think that the Supreme Court will be ultimately helpful to the civil liberties cause, obviously. And regardless of whether or not it is a viable strategy for the election, it will create more terror on the streets as it's intended, which will then relapse back into people behaving, people recognizing how fucked up and insane this is. But if you recall, it's the same as abortion rights, where the despite the fact that abortion rights, which are significantly more popular than trans rights in general, they were struck down in local elections. They were struck down in statewide elections. They're in the midterms. And yet the Supreme Courts of those states still continued to reinstitute abortion restrictions in states, showing that the Republican tendency is to just continue doubling and tripling and quadrupling down and very openly behaving in undemocratic ways, more overtly than before, until it finally reaches a boiling point. And as far as the trans issue goes, or the gender panic that they've tried to successfully cultivate, it feels like it activates, at least in my mind, and maybe I'm wrong about this, it activates the psychos, like the perverts. You know what I mean? The gender perverts are the only people that get like really, really loud about it. And that kind of pushes away otherwise like conservative marginal people that look at them and go, I don't want to be like that. That's not my thing. The people that get activated by like the gender legislation are oftentimes the people that are like, going to the student parent teachers conferences when they have no fucking children at that school and screaming about like pedophilia. And it's like, I don't think that's a winning coalition. Most people just don't. I have this suspicion that most people, when it comes to the trans stuff, most people don't have the immediate disdain that like the average Republican or the most psychotic Republicans do. They just more so see it as like weird. You know what I mean? And it will continue getting better overall as, the next generation is way more open-minded to queer stuff. And, now you have openly gay children in classrooms. You know what I mean? Like you have openly gay kids in the suburbs going to school, even in the South. That's huge. That almost instantaneously creates a more open-minded environment by the parents in that neighborhood. And more importantly than anything else, gay white kids. And for the past decade or so, this has been an ongoing thing. You got gay white children. You got queer white children. White parents realize that, recognize that, see that as like no longer an abnormal, weird thing. More important, huh? Yes. I don't know if you know this, but like white supremacy is the most powerful tool in this country. It is, and people will openly admit this. I think it is not like oppression Olympics or anything, but yes, white supremacy is the most powerful tool in this country. It's more powerful than every other form of oppression, which is part of the reason why when you have gay white children, all of a sudden their parents are a little bit more open-minded towards queer culture shit. And they don't make that distinction in the same way that like weird, again, gender perverts do in the LGB coalition or whatever. Like no parent. Most parents are not like, oh yeah, we're fine with LG and B, but the T is weird. Like they don't do that. That's just like a very unique thing created by British TERFs, you know? They just think like, yeah, it's all gay. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Whatever. But like, you know, my nephew's gay, so it's fine, I guess. I don't know. He seems to be doing all right. That sort of thing. You understand? The parents are not always often open. Do you know how many LGBT homeless youth are there? Or is it just stays in the elephant in the room? I'm 50 and my parents still haven't accepted me. Okay, you're 50 years old. You think that like gay culture and acceptance of queer culture and being queer is the same as when you were a child? No disrespect to you, but what I'm talking about right now is like Gen Z and Generation Alpha, and the rates of Gen Z and Gen Alpha being openly queer is infinitely higher. And that does have an impact. That does legitimately have an impact on their parents being more open minded. My mom teaches high school, has two lesbian daughters, and is very anti-trans. Yeah, okay. Like I said, that doesn't mean that there aren't edge cases. Okay, there's still gonna be fucking like LGB supporters that don't support the T or whatever. But for a lot of people, they just think it's weird when it comes to transness. They just think it's fucking weird, and they're like, I don't care. I just don't. Whatever. Yeah, it's just queer stuff. It's like gay shit, right? Okay, whatever. I feel like there's a drop off. You either are like super fucking ride or die, like insanely ride or die, as far as hating trans people, and you think like every queer person is a pedophile, and they're single-handedly changing our schools, and they're inside of Disney, and they're like looking for numerical associations in like Disney movies and stuff, and they are this generation's like Monster Energy drink is the mark of the devil type people. These people have always existed. TikTok has made it worse. Alienation has made it worse. Isolation has made it worse. But they've always existed, and they seemingly are growing in numbers. Now, the question to ask yourself is, are they so large and so vast a group of individuals that they can like truly change the outcome of elections slash change the like, will this attitude become mainstream? You get it? My dad thought trans people were just a weird couple of years ago, but last Monday when defending trans people's rights to exist, people will eventually come around. I'm Gen Z, and I feel like a lot of straight men in my age group only like gay people and are quietly transphobic. Okay, but like, you're Gen Z, and the straight men in my generation, the straight men were openly homophobic. And the generation before mine, they were even more homophobic. Like, transphobia was just the thing that was even more normalized at that point. I'm not saying that like it's. I'm not stating that like these issues have been solved. Right? It's not. Obviously, there are still plenty of people who are homophobic. Right? That hasn't changed. And asking to click the tic tac.
Hey there, Spady. Hey, your mom told me about how you come out as non-binary, and I don't know too much about it. I've only seen the Matrix movies once, but you always be my son, kid. See, old dog can learn some new tricks. I'm listening to the new Taylor Swift, not just the old stuff. Okay. Listen,
I mean, this is fake, right?
It's not real.
It's not real. It's like, again, it's TikTok. I don't believe anything I see on TikTok. But like, I mean, it's cute. But it is. This kind of goes along with what I was saying, that there are people like this ultimately, and people are.
Section, so I just had to get you some scratch offs and a retirement card, really. But listen, I love you, and I told you could grow up to be whatever you wanted to be, and I meant that. Okay, I'm just thanking God right now that you didn't grow up to be.
POV point of view. No, I know that this is a stitch, man, or a duet. Shut the fuck up. I mean, like, this person doing this is doing it as a bit. Like, clearly, it's not like a real conversation that happened in his life. He's not the one who's like doing it. It's just like a skit.
Be a Dallas fan.